Married for 3 years. My husband takes the whole family of 6 to Australia for the Lunar New Year. He never takes me. The reason being, the plane tickets are too expensive. You stay home and watch the house. I endured it for 3 years. This year I didn't cry or make a fuss. I just smiled and saw them off. The moment they left, I immediately listed the house with an agent. Half a month later, my husband dragged his suitcase back, utterly dumbfounded. The lock was changed, and a burly stranger was living inside. He frantically called me, and I only replied with a text message. The house is sold. The divorce is finalized. The whole family can go wander together. Zhou Wenbo placed the last suitcase by the door. He said, "Su Jing. It's the same as always this year." I stopped wiping the table, looking at him, looking at his mother-in-law Wang Shulian behind him, and his father-in-law Zhou Jianjun, looking at his younger sister Zhou Wenqi beside him, and her husband Li Hao, and their son, Xiao Bao. Holding their hands, a family of 6, all present and accounted for. They are going to Australia, for the 3rd year, to celebrate the Spring Festival. The plane tickets are too expensive, and it's boring for you to go alone, Zhou Wenbo said. His tone practiced. Someone has to watch the house. His mother-in-law Wang Shulian took over, not even looking at me, only concerned with checking her handbag. Yes, sister-in-law. Well, be back soon. His younger sister Zhou Wenqi smiled innocently. For 3 years. It's always been these words. Not a word different. The first year, I cried. The second year, I made a scene. This is the 3rd year. I laughed. I said, "Okay." One word. Zhou Wenbo was stunned, seemingly not expecting me to be so calm. He probably prepared a whole speech to deal with my questioning. My tears, my hysteria. Now it's all useless. A hint of awkwardness flashed across his face. Then, "Take care of yourself at home. Call if anything happens." "Okay. Is there enough money?" "Yes." "Okay. We're leaving then." He pulled up the suitcase. The whole family crowded out the door. The security door slammed shut with a bang. The world fell silent. The cheap perfume scent from my mother-in-law still lingered in the living room. Half-drunk glasses of water they hadn't finished sat on the coffee tab. Lou. I looked at it all, standing there for a long time. Then, I took out my phone, found a number in my contacts. Brother Zhang. It's Su Jing. It was noisy on the other end of the line. "Little Su, you've thought it through." "I've thought it through," I said. "The house. Sell it. All right. They'll bring people over right away. I guarantee you a good price. No need." I walked to the window, watching the 7-seater van heading to the airport slowly drive away downstairs. Brother Zhang. I need the fastest turnaround. The price can be 10% lower than the market price. Silence on the other end. Little sister, are you sure? This isn't a small amount of money. I'm sure. Sell it now. I hung up the phone, threw the phone on the sofa, walked into the bedroom, opened the closet and took out my own suitcase. The red suitcase I brought with me when I married him 3 years ago. Now, it should leave with me too. This home. I don't want it anymore. This so-called husband. I don't want him either. His whole family likes to be together, all neat and tidy. Then I'll grant them their wish. I folded my clothes, one by one, and put them in the suitcase, moving very slowly, as if saying goodbye to the foolishness of the past 3 years. I don't have many of my own things. Everything fit into one suitcase. Finally, from the deepest part of the bedside table, I took out a red-covered book, the property ownership certificate. It only had my name on it. This was the only security my parents gave me. I put the book into my inside pocket. zipped up the suitcase, stood up and took one last look at the room. I chose the curtains. And I picked the sheets. Our wedding photo still hung on the wall. Zhou Wenba in the photo was smiling gently. I was smiling sweetly too. How ironic. I walked over and took the photo down, smashed it on the ground. The sound of the glass shattering was very crisp. It was the most beautiful sound in this house in the last 3 years. I pulled the suitcase and walked out of the bedroom. Without looking back, the phone rang. It was Brother Zhang. Hey, I'm at the entrance of your community. Brought 2 clients, both full price, sincere buyers. Come on up, I said. The doors unlocked. The agent, Brother Zhang, came up with 2 people, a middle-aged man with a big belly, wearing a gold chain. The other was very young, but with shrewd eyes, a buzz cut, and tattoos on his arms. Sister Sue, let me introduce you. These 2 bosses are both interested in your house. Brother Zhang was very enthusiastic. Boss Chen, Boss Li, I nodded. Take a look around. Boss Chen with the gold chain walked around the house. Nice decoration, good location, but he glanced at the broken glass on the floor. Just had a fight. No, I said. A divorce. Boss Chen and Brother Zhang's expressions both paused. The young Boss Li, however, laughed. He said, Sis, you're a straightforward person. I like dealing with straightforward people. He didn't look at the house much. He walked straight up to me. I accept the price Brother Zhang mentioned. 10% lower than the market price. Full payment. We can sign today. Brother Zhang quickly said. Boss Li. This. Boss Chen hasn't. Boss Chen waved his hand. I won't interfere with you young people's affairs. He turned around and left. Brother Zhang was a little embarrassed. Boss Li didn't care. He looked at me. Sis, can we finalize it? I remembered 3 years ago, the first time I argued with Zhou Wenba in this house, because his mother said her room had to face south, and the master bedroom also faced south. Zhou Wenba asked me to give it up. He said, Su Jing, that's my mom. Just respect your elders. I disagreed. That was my wedding room, bought by my parents. Zhou Wenba gave me a cold look for the first time. Why are you so inconsiderate? Later, I still compromised. We moved to the north-facing secondary bedroom. I thought my compromise would bring harmony to the family, but it only led to them taking things for granted. They treated me like an accessory in this family, a decoration that could be discarded at will. Now, I'm going to correct all of this. We can finalize it. I said to Boss Li, let's go to your shop now to sign the contract. Boss Li's eyes lit up. Great, sis. I'm buying your house. Brother Zhang also reacted, overjoyed. Great, great, great. Well, go take care of it right away. Things went unbelievably smoothly. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we were sitting in the contract room of the agency. Boss Li brought his lawyer. I also called my best friend. Who is a lawyer? My best friend is called Qin Yu. When she received my call, she thought I was crazy. Su Jing. Have you really thought this through? I've never been more clear-headed. Qin Yu looked at me. For a long time. Finally, she sighed. Okay. I support you. This kind of man isn't worth it. Qin Yu went through the contract terms. One by one. Mr. Li's lawyer was also very professional. Both sides quickly reached an agreement on the details. The total house price was $3,600,000. Mr. Li would first pay 50% as a deposit. $1,800,000. Once the property transfer procedures were completed, he would immediately pay the remaining balance. Because it was premarital property, the property certificate was only in my name, so the transaction process was very simple. Zhou Wenba's signature wasn't required at all. After signing, I pressed my fingerprint. Mr. Lee had his finance department transfer the money on the spot. My phone vibrated. A bank message came in. Your account ending in XXXX. Received 1-800-000-00 yuan. I looked at the string of zeros. I didn't feel anything. Qin Yu was beside me, excitedly pinching my arm. Jing Jing, you did it. I just smiled. Mr. Lee stood up and extended his hand. Happy to be working with you. Miss Su, happy to be working with you. I shook his hand. He said, can I go and take possession of the house now? Of course. He raised the key. I put the key ring on the table. Zhou Wenba's, Wang Ziyulian's, Zhou Wenqi's. Their spare keys were all on it. Now, they no longer belonged to me. Mr. Lee picked up the key. Then I won't stand on ceremony. I'll go over and change the locks first. Okay. He left with his lawyer. Brother Zhang also got his brokerage fee. Grinning from ear to ear, only Qin Yu and I were left in the contract room. She hugged me. It's over. Jing Jing. No. I leaned on her shoulder. This is just the beginning. I have one last step to take. Divorce. I took out my phone and found Zhou Wenba's WeChat. They should be arriving in Australia soon. I composed a message. After thinking about it, I deleted it again. No rush. I'll wait for him to come back. I want to see the expression on his face as he stands in front of the door of the home that no longer belongs to him. I want him to taste what it's like to have nothing. Qin Yu said, what are you going to do? Rent a place to live first. Yeah, I'll help you find one. No, I'll do it myself. I want to make all the decisions myself. From now on, I booked a hotel and checked in. Then I started looking at apartments online. I want to rent a small one. A one-bedroom will be enough. Close to my company. I still have work. My life can't be put on hold because of a man. In the evening, Zhou Wenba sent a WeChat message. A photo. It was the blue sky and white clouds of Australia. The caption read, Honey, we've arrived. Everything is fine. He even remembers that he has a wife. I looked at the photo. In the corner of the photo, there was my sister-in-law Zhou Wenqi's peace sign, and my mother-in-law, Wang Xiulian, with her sunglasses on. They looked so happy. That's good. I locked my phone. I hope you guys have fun out there, too, because when I come back, there's no home. I stayed in a hotel for 3 days. In 3 days, I found a new apartment. 1 bedroom and 1 living room. Fully furnished. Move-in ready. Only 2 blocks from my company. I used the deposit from selling the house to pay for a full year's rent. Qin Yu helped me move. Actually, there wasn't much to move. Just a suitcase. And 1.8 million in bank savings. You're a little rich woman now. Qin Yu joked. Not enough. I said. Once I get the final payment, I'm going to look at a small apartment in the city center. I want to buy a house that's completely my own, and never let anyone live in it again. Qin Yu looked at me. Jing Jing, you've changed. Really, you used to always say, harmony in the family brings success in everything. I smiled self-deprecatingly. Yeah, I was so stupid before. I always thought that if I took a step back, the sky would be the limit. But I took hundreds of steps back, and they just wanted me to jump off a cliff. 3 years ago, we just got married. Zhou Wenba was busy with work, so I quit my job to take care of the family. He said, Honey, you're working hard. They'll take care of you from now on. I believed him. I cooked him different dishes every day. I treated his parents as if they were my own. I loved his sister as if she were my own. I thought I could fit into their family, but in their eyes, I was always an outsider. A tool to have children for the Zhou family and take care of their lives. The first year of the new year. His family said they were going to Sanya. I said okay. They'll book the tickets and plan the itinerary. My mother-in-law, Wang Xiulian, said, "Oh dear, Su Jing. You shouldn't go. Who will take care of all the flowers and plants at home?" Zhou Wenba said, "Yeah, honey, plane tickets are quite expensive. Just think of it as saving us money." That was the first time they didn't take me home for the Lunar New Year. I was alone, guarding the empty house, watching the fireworks outside the window, crying the whole night. The following year, they were going to Japan. The reason was the same. You stay home and watch the house. This time, I had a big fight with Zhou Wenba. He pointed his finger at me and scolded me. "Su Jing. Can't you be a little more understanding? My mom's health isn't good. Is it easy for her to go on a trip? Can't you just let her be happy? We're a family. Do you have to be so divisive? I'm really disappointed in you." That was the first time I saw his ferocious face. So the gentleman in the wedding photos was a fake. All an act. My heart grew colder bit by bit. This year, they are going to Australia. Even further, the announcement was made at the family dinner table. My sister-in-law, Zhou Wenqi, excitedly announced that she had snatched up some discount tickets. "Brother, Mom, we're going to Australia for the Lunar New Year this year." The whole family cheered. Not a single person asked for my opinion. As if I didn't even exist. I put down my chopsticks, looking at Zhou Wenba. He avoided my gaze, not daring to look at me. At that moment, I completely gave up. I didn't want to argue with them anymore. It was pointless. I just wanted to leave. Completely, cleanly. "What are you thinking about?" Qin Yu's voice pulled me back to reality. "Nothing." I hung the last piece of clothing in the closet. It's all in the past. The new home is small, but very cozy. I bought myself a bouquet of flowers and put them in a vase. The sunlight streamed in through the window, warm and comforting. These past few days, Zhou Wenba has been sending me WeChat messages every day. It's either the Sydney Opera House or the beaches of the Gold Coast. Occasionally, he throws in a line. "Honey, what are you doing at home?" I reply, "I'm good." He asks, "Have you eaten?" I reply, "Yes." And then he has nothing more to say. He's just going through the motions. I still care about you routine. He doesn't even bother to give me a call, because long-distance calls are expensive. In his mind, I'm not even worth a minute of long-distance charges. It's laughable. A week later, Boss Lee called. "Sister Sue, the transfer formalities are all done. When is a good time for you to settle the final payment?" "Any time is fine. How about tomorrow morning at 10? At the bank?" "Okay." The next day, I received the remaining 1,800,000, 3,600,000. Not a penny short. The first thing I did was transfer 10,000 yuan to Qin Yu. "This is the lawyer's fee." Qin Yu was startled and immediately returned it to me. "Are you crazy? What money are we talking about between sisters? You have to accept it." I transferred it back. "Qin Yu, this isn't about the money. It's about my attitude. I want to settle all the unclear debts from the past, whether they're emotional or financial. You helped me, so you deserve to be rewarded. Those are the rules." Qin Yu was silent. A few seconds later, she accepted the money. She sent a WeChat message. "Okay. I'll listen to you. But Jingjing, I'll keep this money for you for now. When you need it in the future, they'll take it out at any time." I looked at my phone and smiled. This is what a friend is. This is what family is. Not those people who, under the guise of for your own good, suck you dry. There's one last thing to do. I walked into a law firm. "Hello. I'd like to inquire about filing for divorce. The lawyer who received me was very professional. Ma'am, what's the situation? My husband has subjected me to long-term emotional abuse during our marriage. And he and his family have ostracized and isolated me. I have proof that they left me alone at home for the new year for 3 years in a row. The house has already been sold under my name. Premarital property. No disputes. I have no other demands. I just want a divorce. Immediately, the lawyer nodded. The evidence is sufficient, and the facts are clear. Your request is very simple. We can prepare the complaint for you right away. Okay. Thank you. Walking out of the law firm, the sky was very blue. I calculated the time. In a few days, Zhou Wenbo and the others should be back. I'm a little excited, looking forward to the expression on his face when he sees the new lock on the door. 04 There's only one key to the new apartment. I put it in the tray in the entryway. There's no longer a heavy set of keys with the names of Zhou Wenbo, Wang Xiulian, and Zhou Wenqi on them. That feeling is called relief. I started working, having been out of work for 3 years. Returning to the workplace feels a bit rusty, but my mind is still sharp, and my abilities are still there. I quickly adapted to the work rhythm. The department head talked to me. Su Jing, there's a gap in your resume for the past few years, and I was a bit worried when I hired you. I nodded, listening to him. But your performance this week has been a pleasant surprise. Keep it up. Thank you, Director. I walked out of the office and back to my workstation. A news notification popped up in the lower right corner of the computer. Spring Festival travel rush. Major airports are overcrowded. I calculated the dates. Tomorrow is New Year's Eve. Zhou Wenbo and the others will be back soon too. My phone vibrated. It was a WeChat message from Zhou Wenbo. He sent a photo of his sister Zhou Wenqi's son, Xiaobao. Xiaobao was riding on a kangaroo toy. Laughing happily, Zhou Wenbo said, Xiaobao mentions you, his aunt, every day. I looked at that sentence. I felt it was ironic. His whole family is good at acting. Last year, Xiaobao threw the new school bag I bought him on the ground and stomped on it. Just because his mother, Zhou Wenqi, said, "The things your aunt buys are cheap and low class." I was right there at the time. Zhou Wenqi didn't seem embarrassed at all when she saw me. Instead, she said, "Sister-in-law, don't mind. Children don't understand." I believed it then. Looking back now, children understand everything. The one who didn't understand was me. I replied to Zhou Wenbo with one word. Okay. He quickly sent another message. Honey, did you do the house cleaning? It's almost New Year. It should be clean and tidy. I looked at this message. I could almost see him leaning on the sofa, basking in the Australian sun, and ordering me around as if it were only natural. I replied, done. He was probably very satisfied with my obedience. He sent another sentence. You've worked hard. Wife. Well, bring you gifts when we get back. Gifts. I don't need them anymore. Your absence is the best gift. I closed the chat window and focused on work. After work, I didn't go straight home. Instead, I went to a shopping mall. I bought myself a new coat, camel-colored. Very expensive. It was a brand I would never have been willing to buy before. I also bought myself a new set of skincare products. Standing in front of the mirror, I looked at myself. My complexion was a little pale, but my eyes were bright. It was a kind of light that comes from being alive again. I slept very well that night. No dreams. I slept soundly until dawn. The next day was New Year's Eve. The company is letting us off work half a day early. In the afternoon, Qin Yu called me. Jing. Are you spending tonight alone? Yeah. Come to my house. My parents have been missing you too. No. Yeah. I said. I want to be alone. Qin Yu was silent for a moment. Okay. Then take care of yourself. Call me anytime if you need anything. Okay. After hanging up, I went to the supermarket downstairs and bought a lot of groceries. All the things I like to eat. I made myself a lavish New Year's Eve dinner. 4 dishes and a soup. I opened a bottle of red wine and poured myself a glass. The Spring Festival Gala was on TV. Very lively, but I felt very quiet. This quietness put my mind at ease. At 10 o'clock in the evening, my phone rang. It was a video call request from Zhou Wenbo. I hesitated for a moment, then answered. Their families' faces appeared on the screen. The background was a luxurious restaurant. Brightly lit. Su Jing. Happy New Year. My sister-in-law, Zhou Wenqi, waved at the camera. Sister-in-law. Look at the lobster we're eating. My mother-in-law, Wang Xiulian, also chimed in. Su Jing. You're home alone. Don't just throw something together for New Year's Eve dinner. Zhou Wenbo held up the phone. A smile on his face. Wife. Happy New Year. Well, be back tomorrow. Happiness was written on everyone's face. They thought that on this side of the screen. I would be envious, jealous. That, like in previous years, I would force a smile and say, have fun. That's all that matters. I looked at them and smiled too. I said, Happy New Year. Then, I turned the camera to my dining table, the lavish 4 dishes and a soup, the swaying glass of red wine. I said, my New Year's Eve dinner is pretty good too. On the other side of the screen, everyone's smiles froze for a moment, especially my mother-in-law, Wang Xiulian. She probably didn't expect that I could live so well on my own. I didn't wait for them to speak. I said directly, okay. I won't bother you anymore. Have a good trip. I hung up the video call and muted my phone. The world returned to silence once more. I knew this was the calm before the storm. 05 Zhou Wenbo's return flight was scheduled to land at 10 o'clock the next morning. From the airport to home, factoring in traffic, would take about an hour and a half, which meant they would be home before noon. I woke up at 7 as usual, made myself a simple breakfast, then got dressed and went to the office. Today was the first day of the Lunar New Year, and the company was closed, but I had applied to the director for overtime. I needed a quiet environment to handle some things, and I also needed a perfect alibi. Sitting in the empty office, I turned on my computer and began to deal with the backlog of work from the past few days. Time ticked by. Minute by minute. 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. My phone remained silent. So silent it surprised me a little. Maybe the flight was delayed. Maybe they were busy collecting their luggage after landing and hadn't had time yet. I didn't think too much about it. I continued with my work. 11:30. Finally, my phone started vibrating. The first call was from Zhou Wenbo. I looked at the name flashing on the screen and didn't answer. I let it ring and hang up on its own. Immediately after, the second, the third. He was persistent. Before the fourth call came, a message arrived on WeChat. Zhou Wenbo. Honey, why aren't you answering the phone? Zhou Wenbo. We're home. Downstairs. Zhou Wenbo. Did you deadbolt the door? Why can't the key open it? I stared at those lines of text, imagining him downstairs, holding that useless set of keys, inserting them into the new lock cylinder again and again, all in vain. I didn't reply. The phone's vibration started to become incessant. It wasn't just Zhou Wenbo anymore. My mother-in-law, Wang Xiulian, called. My husband's younger sister, Zhou Wenqi, called too. They were like madmen, taking turns bombarding me. I flipped the phone over, face down on the table, Out of sight, out of mind. But the WeChat notification sound couldn't be turned off. One by one, they popped up in the lower right corner of the computer screen. Wang Xiulian, Su Jing, where the hell have you gone? Come down and open the door for me right now. Zhou Wenqi, sister-in-law. What do you mean by this? Locking us out. Zhou Wenbo, Su Jing, what the hell are you doing? Answer me. Their patience was being rapidly exhausted. Their tone also changed from confusion to anger. I closed the WeChat desktop app, got up and went to the pantry to make myself a cup of coffee. The coffee was fragrant. I held the cup and stood by the window. The street below was empty, with no pedestrians. It was a quiet new year. My new year. 12 o'clock. The phone bombardment paused for a moment. I guess they might have called a locksmith. Or they were asking the neighbors about my whereabouts. Sure enough, before long, WeChat rang again. This time, it was a photo from Zhou Wenbo. A man in a locksmith's uniform stood in front of my door, shaking his head. Zhou Wenbo's text was roaring. The locksmith said the lock cylinder inside has been replaced with the highest level of security. He can't open it. Su Jing, what the hell are you trying to do? After a while, he sent a voice message. I tapped to play it. The background noise was very chaotic, with my mother-in-law Wang Ziyulian's sharp scolding and my husband's younger sister Zhou Wenqi's impatient complaints. Zhou Wenbo's voice suppressed his anger. Su Jing, I'm giving you one last chance. Immediately, right now, appear before me and open the door. Otherwise, you'll bear the consequences. Bear the consequences. I laughed. In these past 3 years, haven't I been bearing the consequences? I didn't reply. I quietly finished the last sip of my coffee. Then, I picked up my phone, unlocked it, opened WeChat and found a number. Boss Lee, the crew-cut man who bought my house. I sent a message. Boss Lee, Happy New Year. Sorry to bother you, but have you been to the house I sold today? Boss Lee replied almost instantly. Sister Sue, Happy New Year to you too. I haven't been there. I have 2 of my brothers staying there, looking after the place for me. What's up? Something wrong, I said. There are some people at the door. It's my ex-husband's family. They're smashing the door. Can you get your brothers to handle it? If they don't leave, you can call the police directly. Boss Lee, fuck. They're out of line. All right. Sister Sue, don't worry. I'll take care of it. I guarantee it'll be handled properly for you. I replied. Thank you. I put down my phone. I knew that the Real show was about to begin. What they would be facing was no longer the me who was submissive, but someone they absolutely couldn't afford to offend. 06 About 20 minutes passed. Zhou Wenbo's phone rang again. This time, I answered it. As soon as the call connected, his rage, suppressed to the extreme, burst through. Su Jing, you mad woman. Who did you rent the house to? I didn't say anything. On the other end of the line, another rough, male voice came through. Who the hell is your wife? This is my big brother's house. If you don't get lost, they'll break your legs. Immediately after, came my mother-in-law, Wang Ziyulian's scream. Ouch! They're hitting people. Is there no law anymore? Law. I am the law. Get out of here. After a burst of chaotic noise and crashing, the call was disconnected. I guess they were invited out. Sure enough, a few minutes later, Zhou Wenbo's WeChat message arrived. This time it was a voice message. His voice was trembling, mixed with the sound of wind and gasping. Su Jing, where are you exactly? Who did you rent the house to? Who are they? They kicked us out. Our luggage is still in the hallway. His tone carried a hint of fear for the first time. He probably thought I had found some gangsters. I waited for a while. When his emotions had calmed down a little, but not completely, I started typing. Slowly. One word at a time. I imagined him standing in the cold wind of the residential complex, guarding 6 or 7 large suitcases. With his disheveled family beside him, he waited anxiously for my reply, like a prisoner waiting for sentencing. I finished editing the message, checked it over. No typos. Then I pressed send. The house wasn't rented out. It was sold. It's over between us two. My lawyer will send you the divorce agreement. I wish your whole family a complete and utter year of being homeless in the new year. Message sent successfully. I saw the green chat bubble pop up. Then I made my last move. Long press on Zhou Wenba's profile picture. Click. Delete contact. Find Wang Xulian. Delete. Zhou Wenqi. Delete. Everyone related to their family. One by one. I cleaned them all out. After doing all this, I threw my phone on the desk. Let out a long, relieved breath, like unloading a heavy slab that I'd been carrying for 3 years. Sunlight streamed through the blinds, casting dappled shadows on the desk. The world had never felt so bright. I knew it wasn't over yet. They would find a way to get to me, make a scene at my company, or go to my parents' house. But I was prepared for anything. I sent a message to Qin Yu. It's started. Qin Yu replied. Got it. Well, meet soldiers with generals and water with earth. Don't worry. I've got your back. I called the company receptionist and told them that if anyone came looking for me, they should say I was on a business trip. I called my parents, told them I was divorced, and the house was sold. On the other end of the phone, my dad was silent for a long time. He only said one sentence. Come home, daughter. The door to our home is always open for you. At that moment, I could no longer hold back my tears. But these were not tears of sadness. They were of grievance, release, and rebirth. I wiped away my tears and looked out the window. I knew that my life, from this day forward, was truly starting anew. As for how long Zhou Wenba and his family would stand downstairs in that complex, how they would deal with the mountain of luggage, where they would sleep tonight, in a hotel, or in some relative's cold living room, I didn't know, nor did I want to know. Their story was no longer connected to mine. My story had just begun a new chapter. 07 Zhou Wenba clutched his phone. Standing on the asphalt road of the complex, the wind was cold. It stung his cheeks. He repeatedly looked at those few lines of text. The house wasn't rented. It was sold. He didn't believe it. This was impossible. How dare Su Jing? How could his usually docile, obedient wife, who wouldn't even dare to speak loudly, do something like this? She was crazy. She must be crazy. Wenba. What's going on? What did that bitch say? His mother, Wang Xulian, rushed over and snatched the phone. When she saw the words on the screen, her face instantly turned paler than paper. Then, a strange flush surged over her. Sold. Sold. Her voice was as shrill as nails scratching glass. She sold our house. Mom. Keep your voice down. Zhou Wenba snatched the phone back, his eyes bloodshot. Neighbors were already peeking out, watching the spectacle. For 3 years during the Spring Festival, his family had left in glory, leaving Su Jing alone to watch the house. Everyone in the complex knew that. Now, they were like a pack of stray dogs, blocked outside their own home. All pretense of dignity, at this moment, was shattered into pieces. Brother, what do we do now? His sister-in-law, Zhou Wenqi, was also flustered. She held onto her suitcase, her face crestfallen. Where are we going to stay tonight? Xiao Bao is freezing. Zhou Jianjun, his father, who hadn't said a word until now, finally spoke. His voice was deep. Stop arguing. Let's find a place to stay first. Stay where? A hotel. Wang Shulian shrieked. Hotels are so expensive during the new year. We spend all our money in Australia. You old geezer. All you do is talk. Zhou Jianjun's face turned a shade of liver. But he didn't say anything else. In this family, he never had a voice. Zhou Wenbo took a deep breath, forcing himself to calm down. He dialed my number again and again. All he heard was, "The number you have dialed is busy." He knew he was blacklisted. He tried his mother's phone, his sister's phone. The result was the same. Su Jing had blacklisted his entire family. A huge panic, mixed with boundless anger, gripped his heart. He really couldn't reach her. The woman he thought would always be waiting for him in the same spot had disappeared. Let's go home, Zhou Wenbo said through gritted teeth. Go to what home? Wasn't our house sold? Zhou Wenqi asked, clueless. Go to my parents' place, Zhou Wenbo shouted. After shouting, he realized that his parents' old, small apartment only had 2 bedrooms, not nearly enough to accommodate all of them. But now, there was no other choice. They awkwardly hailed 2 taxis on the roadside. They struggled to stuff 7 or 8 large suitcases into them before getting into the car. Zhou Wenbo turned back and took one last look at the building, the home he had lived in for 3 years. The lights were off, just like his life at this moment. He couldn't understand. Where exactly did he go wrong? Was it 3 years ago when he went to Sonia for the first time without her? Or last year when he scolded her for being ignorant? Or this year, when he announced the trip to Australia at the dinner table, completely ignoring her? He couldn't remember. He only remembered that Su Jing was always gentle, always compromising. He thought this time would be the same. He even had a gift ready to bring back from Australia, a bottle of perfume, to appease her. How ridiculous it seemed now. In the taxi, Wang Ziyulian's cursing never stopped. From cursing me to cursing the agent to cursing the new owner of the house. Finally, they started scolding Zhou Wenbo. It's all your fault. Useless thing. Can't even control your own wife. Now look, the family's gone. Zhou Wenbo closed his eyes, not wanting to say a word. He only had one thought in his mind. Find Su Jing. He had to find her. He didn't believe she could fly to the sky. He still had ways. He could go to her company. He could go to her parents. He would drag her back and make her kneel down and admit her mistakes. Make her SPI. T out the house and the money. Yes, it was definitely possible. Thinking like this, he felt a little more at ease. He didn't realize that from the moment he had this thought, he had already lost. Completely and utterly lost. 08 I stayed at the company until 4 in the afternoon. Finished all the urgent work. The director saw me and was surprised. Su Jing, what are you doing here today? I'm bored at home anyway, so I thought I'd come to the company to see. I replied calmly. Dedication is good, but you also need to rest. Go home soon. And Happy New Year. Thank you, director. Happy New Year. I turned off the computer, picked up my coat and bag, and left work. Stepping out of the office building, the air outside was crisp and cold. I didn't rush home, but strolled slowly. After walking 2 blocks, I arrived at my new apartment building. Very close, very convenient. Back home, the house was warm and cozy. I changed into comfortable loungewear and made myself a cup of hot tea. I snuggled on the sofa, opened the tablet, and casually found a movie to watch. The phone was very quiet. I knew this wasn't the end. Knowing Zhou Wenbo's personality, he wouldn't let it go so easily. He would definitely try every possible way to find me. Halfway through the movie, My other phone rang. That was the number I used specifically to contact my family. The caller ID read Dad. I answered the phone. Hello, Dad. Jing Jing. My dad's voice sounded very steady. Zhou Wenbo just called home. My heart skipped a beat, but I wasn't surprised. What did he say? What else could he say? My dad chuckled coldly. First, he feigned concern, asking if you were home, saying he couldn't reach you and was very worried. I said, you don't need to worry about her. She's fine. Then he started questioning me, asking why you sold the house and why you weren't answering his calls. His tone was very aggressive, as if I owed him something. I could imagine Zhou Wenbo's frantic state on the other end of the phone. Dad, you weren't angry, were you? What would I be angry about? I just find it ridiculous. Doesn't he know what he did? And he still comes to question us. My dad paused and continued. I told him, first, the house is your premarital property. You can sell it if you want. It's none of his business. Second, your marriage is over. And after the holiday, my lawyer will personally contact him to discuss the divorce. Finally, I told him not to call home anymore. Our family doesn't welcome him. Listening to my dad's clear and firm words, my nose felt a little sore. I always thought my dad was a pushover, not good with words. I didn't expect him to be so firm when protecting me. Dad. Thank you. Silly child. Why are you thanking Dad? My dad's tone softened. Did he bully you? No. I'm fine. That's good. Remember, your parents are here for you no matter what. The sky won't fall. Okay. After hanging up, I hugged my knees and sat on the sofa for a long time. The sky outside the window gradually darkened. The city lights lit up one by one. Millions of lights, but not one of them was lit for Zhou Wenbo and his family. At this moment, the Zhou family, Zhou Wenbo's old house was filled with gloom. Wang Shilian sat on a small stool, crying her eyes out. It's a sin. What sin have I committed? To marry such a jinx. She's ruined our family. Zhou Wenqi fanned the flames on the side. Exactly. Bro. Look at her dad's attitude. Just like her. So arrogant. There's not a good person in that family. Zhou Wenbo didn't say a word, pacing back and forth in the cramped living room. Calling Su Jing's parents was his last hope. He thought that the elderly were always soft-hearted, always hoping for harmony in their children's families. As long as he humbled himself and said some nice things, they would definitely help persuade Su Jing. He didn't expect to not even get past Su Jing's father. The other party's attitude was as hard as a rock, and he even said he would have a lawyer contact him. Lawyer. Just hearing that word made Zhou Wenbo's scalp tingle. He didn't understand the law, but he knew that once he went through legal procedures, he would have absolutely no advantage. The house was Su Jing's premarital property. The money from selling the house, was also in Su Jing's account. He wouldn't get any of it. His 3-year marriage would end with him leaving with nothing. No, he couldn't accept it. All his anger, after being rebuffed, began to turn into a cold calculation. Since the hard approach wouldn't work, he would try a soft one. Since she was avoiding him, he would go to the place she had to be, her company. He took out his phone and started searching online for the address of Su Jing's company. He would go there tomorrow. He would wait for her downstairs at her company. He would ask her, in front of all her colleagues, what she was trying to do. He would embarrass her, make it impossible for her to stay at the company. He thought it was a brilliant plan, as long as he exploited Su Jing's concern for her reputation. She would definitely give in. A sinister smile finally appeared on his face. 09 the next day, the 3rd day of the Lunar New Year. I went to work as usual. There weren't many people in the company yet. It was very quiet. I needed this quiet to think about each step I would take next. I knew Zhou Wenbo wouldn't give up easily. After being rebuffed by my parents, the only place he could think of was my company. I had already informed the front desk and security guards. I described his appearance and explained that if this person came looking for me, no matter what reason he gave, they were not to let him in and should notify me immediately. At 10 o'clock in the morning, the front desk called on the internal line. "Sister Sue, there's a Mr. Zhou downstairs looking for you, saying he's your husband." "I understand," I said calmly. "Do as I instructed." "Okay." I didn't go downstairs. I didn't even go to the window to take a look. I just opened the office's internet monitoring system and brought up the lobby view. On the screen, Zhou Wenbo was wearing the camel coat he had worn when he returned from Australia. His hair seemed to have been carefully styled, but it couldn't hide the exhaustion and anxiety on his face. He was stopped by the front desk outside the turnstile. "Sir, I'm sorry. Without an appointment, you can't go up. I'm her husband. Do I need an appointment to see my wife?" Zhou Wenbo raised his voice. "I'm sorry, sir, but these are company regulations. Get Su Jing down here. Tell her I'm waiting for her here." The receptionist maintained a professional smile. "I've already notified her. But Sister Sue said she's in a meeting and it's not convenient for her to see guests." "Meeting? You're kidding me." Zhou Wenbo's patience was completely exhausted, and he began to try to force his way in. Two security guards immediately stepped forward, holding him on either side. "Sir, please calm down. Don't obstruct our work here. Let go of me. Do you know who I am?" Zhou Wenbo struggled, acting like a madman. In the lobby, the few employees entering and exiting cast curious and contemptuous glances. He was like a clown, on someone else's turf. He was putting on an ugly one-man show. I watched him on the screen. I felt no anger, no pleasure, not even a ripple of emotion, just a sense of unfamiliarity. This man, was this the husband I had loved for 3 years? The one I had given my youth to? So, after tearing off that veneer of gentleness, this was what he was like. So unbearable. The security guards were very strong, and Zhou Wenbo couldn't break free at all. He was half pushed, half carried out of the front door. "Sir, if you continue to harass us here, we will call the police," the security guard warned sternly. Zhou Wenbo stood on the steps outside the office building, his clothes disheveled and gasping for breath. He looked up at the towering glass curtain wall building. He knew I was on one of the floors, looking at him like watching a joke. A huge sense of powerlessness and humiliation overwhelmed him. For the first time, he realized that he might really, permanently, have lost me, and lost that home, that huge sum of money. He had lost everything. He stood downstairs for a long time, from anger to resentment, and then to bewilderment. In the end, he left. His back view was desolate, like a defeated rooster. I turned off the surveillance screen. The internal line rang again. It was the front desk. "Sister Sue, he's gone. Thank you for your trouble." "It's nothing." "But Sister Sue," judging from the way he looked, "it seems like he won't give up easily. Please be careful when you go to and from work." The receptionist kindly reminded me. "Okay. I understand. Thank you." I leaned back in my chair and closed my eyes. The first round. I won. And I won very easily. All of Zhou Wenbo's tricks were within my expectations. He was like a fly trapped in a glass bottle, able to see me but never able to reach me. He could only crash against the bottle wall, again and again, until his head was bloodied. But I also knew that a cornered dog will jump over a wall. A person like him is capable of anything when he's completely desperate. I needed to prepare for his next, even more insane move. I took out my phone and sent Qin Yu a message. He caused a scene at the company. But he was stopped. Qin Yu replied instantly. As expected. Next. He might stalk you or try to ambush you. Do you need to apply for a personal safety protection order? I looked at the words personal safety protection order. My heart sank slightly. I never imagined that one day things between Zhou Wenbo and I would require resorting to this kind of legal weapon. I replied. Not yet. I'll observe for a bit longer. I don't want to make things too ugly. Qin Yu sent a sighing emoji. Jing jing. It's come to this. And you're still trying to save face for him. You need to remember that being merciful to evil people is being cruel to yourself. I looked at the sentence and fell silent. Perhaps. Qin Yu was right. My struggle was far from over. I needed to be tougher. More decisive. 10. The news of Zhou Wenbo causing trouble downstairs at the company spread like wildfire the next day, reaching every corner of the office. As I walked into the office, I could clearly feel the gazes directed at my back. A mixture of curiosity, sympathy, and schadenfreude. There were always a few colleagues whispering in the pantry. When they saw me enter, they would immediately shut up and awkwardly disperse. I didn't care. I made coffee, handled emails, and attended meetings as usual. My composure became an even better topic of conversation in their eyes. Look at her. She's acting like nothing happened. She's got good mental fortitude. I heard her husband is quite handsome. How did it turn out like this? Who knows? Every family has its own problems. In the afternoon, the director called me in for a talk again. This time, his expression was a bit serious. Su Jing, the company doesn't usually interfere in your personal affairs. However, yesterday's situation was a very bad influence. I hope this is the last time. I nodded. Director, I guarantee there won't be a next time. Because soon, he won't be my husband anymore. My frankness surprised the director. He probably didn't expect me to be so direct. He waved his hand. All right. I got it. Get back to work. I returned to my seat, and Qin Yu's WeChat popped up. How's it going? Is work okay? It's fine. Just a small hiccup. I can handle it. That's good. I just discussed it with my colleagues at the law firm. And Zhou Wenbo's behavior constitutes affray and provocation. If you need it, we can apply to the court for a personal safety protection order to prohibit him from approaching you and your company within 100 meters. Wait a little longer. I replied. I want to see what other tricks he has up his sleeve. I wasn't trying to spare him any dignity. I was collecting evidence. The more insane and outrageous he gets, the more advantageous it will be for me in court. What I want is more than just a victorious divorce lawsuit. I also want him to pay the legal price he deserves for everything he's done to me. At this moment, Zhou Wenbo was sitting on the creaky old sofa in his parents' house. The room was filled with a foul odor, a mixture of leftovers and dampness. Wang Shilian was nagging and cursing in his ear. That little bitch is so ruthless. We can't even get into the company. She's trying to force us to die. Brother, I asked the legal counsel at my workplace today. Zhou Wenqi said, her face also looking grim. He said that sister-in-law's house is premarital property, and we won't get a penny from the sale. It's a waste of time to sue. This news was the last straw that broke Zhou Wenbo's back. He suddenly stood up and kicked over the coffee table in front of him. The cups and dishes on the coffee table crashed to the ground, making a piercing sound. Can't get it. Why? His eyes were bloodshot, like a trapped beast. I've been married to her for 3 years. I supported her for 3 years. She says divorce, and then she sells the house. Does she think the world owes her something? Then what can we do? Wang Shilian cried out. She's hiding from us and won't answer the phone. She won't let us into the company. What can we do? Zhou Wenbo paced back and forth in the small living room, his chest heaving. Forcing his way in failed. Going to the parents failed. All his paths seemed to be blocked. Su Jing was like a chess master high above, coldly watching him charge left and right on the chessboard. But he could never escape her calculations. An unprecedented sense of humiliation almost drove him mad. Suddenly, he stopped. A vicious idea flashed through his mind. He turned his head and looked at his family. A sinister smile appeared on his face. Doesn't she care about her reputation? Doesn't she care about her job? Her fame? Good. Since she won't let me have a good time, then she can forget about having a good time herself. Wang Shulian and Zhou Wenqi stopped crying and looked at him in confusion. Wenba, what do you want to do? Zhou Jianjun sensed an ominous sign. Zhou Wenba didn't answer. He took out his phone and started searching for a place name online. My hometown, a small county town he had only visited once. For our wedding. He was going to move the battlefield there. He was going to throw this dirty water at the family I cared about most. He wanted to completely ruin my reputation. 11 The next few days were unexpectedly calm. Zhou Wenba didn't come to the company again. Nor did he call. The world seemed to return to normal. But I knew this was just an illusion. A person like him would never give up easily. This calmness only made me more vigilant. Qin Yu reminded me, be careful. This may be the prelude to him brewing something big. I couldn't agree more. Life goes on. I started looking at new property information. The $3,600,000 from selling the old house, minus the rent and Qin Yu's lawyer fees, left me with over $3 million. I wanted to buy a small apartment in the city center. It didn't need to be too big. 60 or 70 square meters would be enough. But the location had to be good. And the amenities complete. That would be my real, completely and utterly own home. A solid fortress engraved with my name. On the weekend, I invited Qin Yu out to dinner. We chose a newly opened Western restaurant. The ambience was very nice. Have you decided which one to buy? Qin Yu asked, cutting her steak. I've looked at a few, but I haven't decided yet. No rush. I'll take my time. That's right. You're a single rich woman with a lot of money now. You have to plan it well. Qin Yu winked at me. I laughed. Yes. My only worry now is how to spend the money. We chatted and drank red wine. The atmosphere was relaxed. Looking at the city's night view outside the window, I had a surreal feeling. Just half a month ago, I was still a humble housewife guarding an empty house, waiting for my husband to give me a little attention. Now, I could sit here and calmly plan the rest of my life. The taste of freedom is really good. Seriously. Jing Jing. Qin Yu put down her knife and fork and looked at me seriously. What are your plans after all this is over? Plans? Yeah. Like starting a new relationship. I shook my head, not considering it for now. Once bitten by a snake, 10 years afraid of well ropes. All I want now is to work hard, live well, and love myself. Men only slow down my earning potential. Qin Yu burst out laughing. Well said. Come on. Let's toast to our independent and autonomous new women. We clinked our glasses. The red wine, under the light, looked like flowing jewels. Just as Qin Yu and I were enjoying our friendship and the delicious food, the Zhou Wenba family was crammed onto a slow green train headed to my hometown. The hard-seat carriage was filled with foul air and a cacophony of voices. Wang Shulian was carsick, vomiting until her face was pale. Xiao Bao was crying and fussing, complaining about the poor environment. Zhou Wenqi and her husband, Li Hao, each clutching a suitcase, were squeezed into a corner, their faces full of resentment. Brother, why did we have to come to this awful place? Zhou Wenqi complained. It's so dirty and chaotic, and you wouldn't even spring for a sleeper car. Shut up. Zhou Wenba snapped irritably. Isn't it all because of that Su Jing? She ran off with all our money. Wang Shilian weakly raised her head, her eyes flashing with venomous light. When we get to her hometown, we'll make a scene at her house, in front of all her relatives and neighbors. We'll tell them what kind of person she really is. Yes. Zhou Wenqi immediately perked up. We'll say she's not filial to her in-laws, that she's having affairs with strange men, and that she stole all the family's money. Let's see where that leaves her parents' faces. Well, go make trouble at her parents' workplace too, Wang Shilian added. Isn't her father a minor cadre? He cares most about his reputation. Well, make a scene at his workplace and see how he can show his face. The family chattered back and forth, getting more and more excited, as if they could already see our family turned upside down by them, forced to submit. Zhou Wenba listened to their plan without saying a word. In his heart, there wasn't a shred of guilt, only a kind of morbid pleasure. Su Jing, don't you care about your family? Don't you care about your reputation? I'm going to tear them, piece by piece, all to shreds, to let you know what the consequences are for fighting me. The train clanked forward on the rails, carrying this family's malice and madness, hurtling towards my peaceful life. 12. The storm descended suddenly, when I was completely unprepared. That day was Monday, and I was in the middle of our department's weekly meeting. My mother's calls came in, one after another. My mother rarely called me during work hours unless it was an emergency. My heart sank, and I excused myself to the director, walking out of the conference room to answer the phone. Hello, Mom. What's wrong? On the other end of the line, my mother's voice was filled with sobs and suppressed anger. Jing, Zhou Wenba and his family, they've come to our house. My heart instantly plummeted into an ice cellar. What did they do? My voice was as cold as ice. They're making a scene downstairs at our house. My mother's voice was trembling. They've put up banners, saying you're unfilial, saying you're having an affair and ran off with the money. Now there's a crowd of neighbors downstairs watching the commotion. Your dad's face has gone white with anger. Put up banners, having an affair, ran off with the money. These words, like sharp knives, pierced my heart. I could imagine the scene. Zhou Wenba's family, like a bunch of hooligans, were staging a farcical drama, turning black into white. In the family compound where I grew up, my parents, who had lived honestly and valued their reputation all their lives, were now being pointed at and gossiped about by their neighbors. Zhou Wenba, he really hit my weak spot. Mom, don't be afraid. I forced myself to calm down. You and Dad must not go downstairs. Don't have any contact with them. Ignore whatever they say. Keep the doors and windows closed. And wait for me. Jing, what are you going to do? Don't come back. They just want to force you to come back. I know. I said, I won't go back. But I will fix this. After hanging up the phone, my hands and feet were icy cold, but my mind was unusually clear. Anger was not enough to describe my mood at this moment. It was a kind of cold-blooded murderous intent, triggered by touching my bottom line. Zhou Wenba, you have successfully made me lose the last bit of pity I had for you. I didn't go back to the conference room. Instead, I took my phone and car keys and walked out of the company. I didn't go to my hometown. I knew that going back now would only fall into their trap and make things even uglier. I wanted to strike at the root of the problem. I drove while calling Qin Yu, with the hands-free function on. Yeah. They went to my hometown to make trouble. They put up banners, spreading rumors and slandering. I briefly explained the situation. Qin Yu on the other end of the phone cursed. This family has really broken the limit of shamelessness. I need you to do a few things now. I calmly arranged. First, immediately file a lawsuit in my name. accusing Zhou Wenbo, Wang Xilian, and Zhou Wenqi of defamation. Used the photos of them putting up banners in my hometown as evidence. And if any neighbors have recorded videos, find a way to get them. Second, help me contact a reliable private investigator. Investigate what? Investigate Zhou Wenbo. Investigate all his bank statements, hotel records, and chat logs for the past 3 years. I don't believe he's as clean as he says he is. He's such a selfish person. How could he possibly remain chaste for the sake of his family? He must be hiding something from me. Qin Yu immediately understood my intention. You want to treat him in the same way he treats others. My voice had no warmth. Doesn't he like to ruin other people's reputations? Then he'll dig out all the dirty things he's done, one by one, and make them public. He made my parents unable to hold their heads up in our small town. I'm going to make sure he suffers social death. Across the entire city, and even the entire internet. Qin Yu was silent for a few seconds. Then, 2 words. Decisive and firm. Got it. They'll take care of it right away. Don't worry about the detective. One of my childhood friends does that. Absolutely professional and reliable. Good. I hung up the phone, floored the gas pedal, and the car sped down the road. I didn't go home. Nor did I go back to the company. I drove directly to Zhou Wenbo's parents' old house. Doesn't he like raiding homes? Then I'll let him taste the feeling of having his lair raided. He thought the battlefield was where he chose. But he was wrong. From the moment he hurt my family, the rules of war are set by me. 13. The old residential complex where Zhou Wenbo's parents live is almost 30 years old. The building is mottled, and the walls are covered with wires, like aging wrinkles. I parked the car outside the complex and didn't drive in. I know this place. In the first year of our marriage, I lived here for almost half a year. I know that the biggest authority in this community is not the property management, but the group of retired aunties who appear in the small garden downstairs at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on the dot. They hold all the secrets and public opinion guidance of the entire community. I walked into the community and went straight to the small garden. Sure enough, several aunties were sitting on stone benches, picking vegetables and chatting. The leader is Aunt Zhang, who lives across the hall from Zhou Wenbo's house. She has the best eyesight and was the first to see me. Hey, isn't this Wenbo's wife? All eyes were focused on me. I stopped and gave them a tired yet aggrieved smile. Aunt Zhang, ladies, long time no see. Oh my, it's really Su Jing. Aunt Zhang stood up and warmly took my hand. You haven't been here in so long. How did you lose so much weight? My eyes, at the right moment, turned red. I didn't say anything. Just shook my head and gently withdrew my hand. This action is more powerful than any words. Aunt Zhang immediately noticed something was wrong. What's wrong, child? Did you quarrel with Wenbo? No, Aunt Zhang. I lowered my head, my voice with a hint of choking. We are getting divorced soon. What? This news, like a bomb, exploded in the small garden. All the aunties gathered around. What's going on? Wenbo seemed like an honest kid. Yeah, weren't you only married for 3 years? I raised my head, and tears fell at just the right moment. Aunties, you know, for the past 3 years during the spring festival, his whole family went abroad, leaving me to take care of the house alone. Right. The aunties looked at each other, then nodded. They all knew about this. Wang Xilian had often boasted outside about how filial her son was, taking her on trips abroad. I always felt before that I wasn't good enough, so they didn't accept me. I thought that as long as I endured, as long as I yielded, one day they would treat me like family. I was wrong. I took out my phone from my bag and opened a photo. It was a photo of a banner pulled up downstairs at my parents' house. This photo was just sent to me by an old neighbor from my hometown. They went to my hometown. They went to my parents' doorstep, pulled up a banner, scolded me, spread rumors about me, saying that I ran off with their money. Aunties, please tell me what's right. My voice wasn't loud, but every word was clearly conveyed to their ears. I married Zhou Wenbo, and the house we live in was bought outright by my parents, with only my name on the property certificate. Does that count as our family's money? Now, I don't want to live with them anymore. I sold my own house. Is that called running off with money? His whole family took my money to enjoy themselves in Australia. And when they came back and found the house gone, they ran to my parents' doorstep, who are in their 70s, to make trouble, almost causing my father to have a heart attack. Is there any justice in the world like this? I didn't make a hysterical accusation. I was just calmly stating the facts. But this calmness was more likely to arouse sympathy than any crying or make trouble. The auntie's expressions changed from gossip to anger. This family is just too awful. That's right. Spending someone else's daughter's money and bullying her parents. Wang Shulian usually looks so dignified, but I didn't expect her to be this kind of person behind her back. Aunt Zhang patted my hand, her face red with anger. Child, don't be afraid. Well, I'll testify for you. There's not a good thing about this family. They're always bragging outside about how much money their son makes in a year, but they can't even afford a house and still want to take yours. Thank you, Aunt Zhang. I wiped away my tears. I came here today just to tell you aunties one thing. From now on, I have nothing to do with the Zhou family, so that if something happens to their family again, everyone won't misunderstand and blame me. After speaking, I bowed deeply to them. Then, I turned and left. I didn't knock on that familiar door, didn't confront the emptiness of the house. I knew that in less than half an hour, the latest news about the Zhou family being ungrateful, bullying their daughter-in-law, and driving her parents to the hospital would spread to every corner of the neighborhood. Wang Shulian and her family cared most about their face. I will personally tear them to shreds. 14. My hometown. A residential compound in the county. The Zhou Wenbo family had been causing a scene with a banner for almost an entire morning. Initially, it did attract many neighbors who didn't know the truth to watch. Wang Shulian sat on the ground, slapping her thighs and wailing, "There's no justice. What evil did our Zhou family commit to marry such a vicious daughter-in-law? She tricked us into going to Australia and secretly sold the house. Millions, all swallowed up by her alone." Zhou Wenqi also chimed in, adding fuel to the fire, describing my crimes. Zhou Wenbo, on the other hand, wore a stern face, playing the role of a wounded husband betrayed by his wife. But their performance soon showed cracks. In the courtyard, there were always a few old neighbors who had a good relationship with my parents. Uncle Li was one of them. He squeezed into the crowd and shouted at Zhou Wenbo, "Qiao Zhou, you said Su Jing sold the house. Whose name was on the deed? Do you dare tell the truth?" Zhou Wenbo's face stiffened. Wang Shulian immediately jumped up. "What, whose name? Once married. It's joint property. Why can she sell it alone? That's not what the law says." Uncle Li was a retired judge, speaking with a full voice. "Premarital property. Whoever bought it, it belongs to them. It's her right to sell her own house. What are you doing here causing trouble?" The crowd began to stir. The way everyone looked at the Zhou Wenbo family began to change. Just then, 2 police cars, flashing their lights, drove into the residential compound. My dad had called the police. 4 policemen got out of the car, the leading policeman with a serious face. "Who is gathering here to cause trouble?" When Wang Shulian saw the police, she was not only not afraid, but became even more energetic. She rushed over, trying to hug the policeman's leg. Comrade police, you must stand up for us. My daughter-in-law. She absconded with the money. The policeman frowned, avoiding her hand. Get up first. Let's talk properly. Another young policeman walked to the banner and read out the words on it. Unfilial daughter-in-law Su Jing. Having an affair during marriage. Running away with a huge sum of money. He turned to look at Zhou Wenbo. Did you hang this? Yes. Zhou Wenbo admitted, biting the bullet. Do you have evidence? The policeman's eyes were sharp. You said she had an affair during marriage. Where is the evidence? You said she ran away with a huge sum of money. Where is the police report? If there is no evidence, this is public defamation. It is illegal. Do you understand? Zhou Wenbo was speechless. They had no evidence. It was all made up to force me out. Also, the policeman pointed to the surrounding crowd. Your behavior has seriously disrupted public order and damaged the reputation of the person involved. Now, immediately, take down the banner and leave immediately. Otherwise, we will take you all back to the police station. Wang Shilian was dumbfounded. She thought the police would help her uphold justice, but she didn't expect them to come to arrest her. We are the victims. She was still arguing, whether she's a victim or not. Tell it to the court. Waving banners here won't solve anything. The police wouldn't listen to her at all. Take it down, quickly. Under the gaze of the police, Zhou Wenbo and Li Hao, faces covered in dust, took down the banner. The surrounding neighbors burst into laughter. What a disgrace. Embarrassing themselves in another place. Exactly. Thought they had a good reason. Turns out they're just being unreasonable. The faces of Zhou Wenbo's family turned red and then white. Just then, Zhou Wenbo's phone rang. It was Aunt Zhang from across the hall. Wenbo, you guys come back quickly. Something big happened. Aunt Zhang's tone was very anxious. What's wrong? Aunt Zhang. Su Jing was here just now. She told us everything. Said the house is hers. Said you went to her hometown to pressure her parents. Now the whole neighborhood knows. They're saying your family are ungrateful wretches. How is your mother ever going to go out again? The phone call was like a bolt from the blue. Zhou Wenbo held the phone, his body ice cold. His meticulously planned scheme, which he thought would outmaneuver me, had not only completely failed, but I had also struck back at his home base. A double defeat. He had lost utterly. 15 Zhou Wenbo's family fled back to the city overnight. They didn't even bother with hard seats. They bought expensive high-speed rail tickets. No one spoke along the way. The carriage was eerily quiet. Wang Shilian stopped crying and just stared blankly out the window. She knew that she was socially dead in the community where she had lived for decades. Zhou Wenbo was like a stone statue, motionless. His mind was filled with Aunt Zhang's words and the police's warnings. All his plans, all his reliance, had collapsed. He realized that he knew nothing about Su Jing. He thought she was a docile sheep, but he didn't expect her to be a wolf who knew how to hunt precisely. Back in that cold, damp old house, the family seemed to have been drained of all their strength. Brother, what do we do now? Zhou Wenqi's voice was tearful. Divorce. Zhou Wenbo squeezed the words out from between his teeth. He knew he had no other choice. If he kept making trouble, he would only lose even more miserably. His only thought now was whether he could get some money from that 3 million plus during the divorce. Even a few $100,000 would be enough for him to catch his breath. He was too naive. He thought all I wanted was a divorce and the house. He didn't know that what I wanted was for him to pay the price for all his actions. 1 week later, Qin Yu called. Her voice carried a hint of barely suppressed excitement. Jing, guess what I found out? What? I was making myself a latte with the new coffee machine I bought. Zhou Wenbo He has someone else. My hand paused. Although I had expected it, hearing it with my own ears still stirred up a ripple in my heart. Not sadness, but a cynical I knew it kind of feeling. Be specific. It's not a simple affair. Chin Yu said. He's been supporting a female college student for 2 years. He transfers 5,000 yuan to her every month for living expenses. And he also rented an apartment for her. A female college student. Yes. My childhood friend even got photos. She looks very pure. And somewhat resembles you. I walked to the window with my coffee. The last bit of warmth in my heart completely dissipated. Find a substitute who looks like me. Zhou Wenbo. You are truly both scummy and ridiculous. The most crucial thing is, Chin Yu continued. The account he uses to transfer money to that woman is a supplementary card under his name. And the primary card for that account has its transaction notifications sent to his mother, Wang Ziyulian's phone. I was stunned. What do you mean? It means that Wang Shulian knew from the beginning that her son was keeping another woman. Not only did she know, but she was also covering for your husband. Every time Zhou Wenbo made a transfer, she would receive a notification and would come up with various reasons. Such as the family bought a new appliance, or his father was feeling unwell and bought some medicine, to explain the expense to you. A bang. My mind exploded. I remembered. There were indeed many times in the past 2 years. Wang Shulian would suddenly say that the refrigerator at home was broken and they bought a new one, or that Zhou Jianjun had a comprehensive medical examination at the hospital, which cost a lot of money. I had never doubted it at the time, because that money was not outrageous for a family income at the time. So all that money went into another woman's pocket. And his good mother was his biggest accomplice. The two of them colluded to treat me like a complete fool. The hand holding the coffee cup began to tremble uncontrollably. The coffee spilled out, scalding the back of my hand, but I couldn't feel any pain. An emotion more disgusting than being betrayed, more humiliating than being deceived, instantly overwhelmed me. Jing Jing. Jing Jing. Are you still listening? Chin Yu asked anxiously on the other end of the phone. I took a deep breath. When I spoke again, my voice was frighteningly calm. Put all the evidence, bank statements, transfer records, that woman's photos, address, everything, into a file. What do you want to do? Throw it all out in court? No. I looked out the window, the city's traffic turning into a blur of light and shadow in my eyes. The court is too easy on them. You print all this out in color. 100 copies. I'm going to send a copy to every department, every level of Zhou Wenbo's company. I'm going to stuff a copy into the door of every neighbor in their apartment complex. I'm also going to give Wang Ziyulian's old friends and Zhou Winky's colleagues a copy each. Doesn't he want to ruin my reputation? Then I'll let him taste what it's like to have his reputation truly ruined, with no chance of recovery. 16 The next morning, I met Chin Yu. She seemed even more excited than I was. Her eyes sparkling. She placed a thick manila envelope on the coffee table in front of me. It's all here. I opened the envelope, and inside was a stack of neat A4 papers, all high-quality color prints. The first page was a selfie of that female college student. Long hair, white dress, with a hint of my younger self in her eyes. She was smiling sweetly. Below the photo was her basic information. Name, age, university and major. From the second page onwards, there were densely packed bank statements. Starting 2 years ago, every month, there was a transfer of 5,000 yuan from Zhou Wenbo's secondary card to this girl's account. The note was living expenses. Occasionally, there were also special transfers of 1314 or 520. Further on, there were movie tickets from them going to the cinema together. Records of consumption in different restaurants. and even 2 booking confirmations for a hot spring hotel in a neighboring city. The evidence was conclusive and irrefutable. I flipped through the pages. One by one. My face remained expressionless, but it felt like countless ants were crawling inside me. Not jealousy, not heartache. A kind of disgust at being deceived and ridiculed to the extreme. While I was pinching pennies for this family, hesitating even to buy a new piece of clothing. My husband was using our joint property to create a princess-like life for another woman. And his mother, my mother-in-law, knew all about it and even covered for him. They are not a family. They are a criminal gang, and I am the victim they conspired to exploit and bleed dry. A total of 120 copies. Qin Yu said. 30 copies will be sent anonymously by express delivery at noon today to Zhou Wenba's company's general manager's office, Human Resources Department, and every colleague in his department. 50 copies. I've arranged for someone to stuff them into the mail slots and under the doors of every household in his parents' neighborhood tonight. 30 copies will be delivered to the kindergarten where Zhou Wenqi works tomorrow, ensuring every teacher sees them. The remaining 10 copies are for backup. Her arrangements were even more thorough than I had imagined. Thank you. Yeah, I said sincerely. Why are you being so polite with me? Qin Yu held my cold hand. I'm just afraid you'll have a change of heart. Jing. Once we start, there's no turning back. I looked up at her. Why would I turn back? When they held banners and stood downstairs at my parents' house, spreading rumors about me with the most vicious language. Did they give me a way back? When his mother helped him deceive me like a fool for 2 years? Did they ever think about leaving me a way out? I haven't had a change of heart. Right now, I just want to see them die. My tone was calm, but Qin Yu knew that beneath this calmness lay a determination to destroy everything. She nodded and didn't try to dissuade me further. Okay. I understand. The deliveries will go out at noon. And tomorrow, the show will begin. I resealed the craft paper bag and handed it back to her. Go do it. Let this judgment come more fiercely. That afternoon, I didn't go back to the office. Instead, I went to see the small apartment I had been eyeing for a while. 72 square meters. 1 bedroom and 1 living room, with a large south-facing balcony. I signed the contract on the spot and paid the full amount, holding the purchase contract that belonged to me. I stood in the empty, unfinished apartment. Sunlight streamed through the window, bathing me in warmth. It was warm. I knew that from tomorrow on, the Zhou Wenba family's sun would set, and my sun had just risen. 17 Zhou Wenba had been feeling very depressed these past few days. Ever since he returned in disgrace from my hometown, a cloud of gloom had hung over the entire household. Wang Shilian didn't dare to go out, afraid of being scolded by the neighbors behind her back. Zhou Wenqi was also being scrutinized by her colleagues at work, who gossiped about her having a formidable sister-in-law. Everyone vented their frustrations on Zhou Wenba. He had decided to get a divorce. He contacted a lawyer, who told him that he had almost no chance of winning the case. The best outcome would be a divorce by mutual consent, leaving him with nothing. He was unwilling. He was still hoping to find an opportunity to talk to me again, to play the victim, hoping that I might soften and give him a few $100,000. Clutching at this fantasy, he walked into the office. He immediately sensed something was wrong. All the way. The way his colleagues looked at him was very strange. It wasn't the previous sympathy or gossip, but a kind of look mixed with contempt, disgust, and mockery, like looking at a pile of garbage. His heart skipped a beat, and he had a bad feeling. Back at his workstation, he saw an unsigned yellow craft paper bag on his desk. He opened it with a puzzled expression. When he saw what was inside, his mind went blank. The girl's photos, every transaction record, the Hot Spring Hotel's reservation form. These secrets, which he thought he had hidden perfectly, were now printed out and placed in front of him in the most humiliating way. His hands began to tremble, and cold sweat instantly soaked his back. He suddenly looked up and glanced around. He found that almost every colleague in the department had the same craft paper bag on their desk. Some people were reading it, pointing and whispering at him, with sneers of disdain. Oh my God. So there really is someone out there, sponsoring a female college student. He really knows how to play. Look at these transaction records. His mom is actually an accomplice. This family is too much. No wonder his wife wants to sell the house and divorce him. I wouldn't be able to stand it either. Those discussions were like poisoned knives, stabbing into his ears and shattering his internal organs. He wanted to collect the documents, but the papers scattered all over the floor because his hands were shaking so badly. He squatted down to pick them up in a panic. Just then, his department manager's internal line rang. His voice was as cold as ice. Zhou Wenbo. Come to my office. Zhou Wenbo stiffly walked into the manager's office. He saw a copy of the same document on the manager's desk. The manager didn't even ask him to sit down. The company received many copies of your personal resume today. The manager's tone was full of mockery. The content is very exciting. Zhou Wenbo wanted to explain, but couldn't say a word. You don't need to explain. The manager interrupted him. Zhou Wenbo, we can't interfere with your personal life. However, your behavior has seriously affected the company's reputation and work atmosphere. The HR department will talk to you. Go through the resignation procedures. Our company can't accommodate talents like you. Fired. He was fired. Zhou Wenbo didn't even remember how he walked out of the manager's office. Like a puppet with its soul taken away. He returned to his workstation and packed his belongings under the gaze of all his colleagues. His phone started ringing frantically at that moment. It was Wang Xulian calling. The moment the call connected, she erupted in a heartbreaking wail. Wenbo. Something's happened. Something terrible has happened. Your photos and those things have been stuffed into the doors of every household in our building. I can't live like this. I really can't. Immediately after, Zhou Wenqi called. Brother, what on earth did you do? Our kindergarten parents group is exploding. The headmaster told me not to come in tomorrow. I lost my job. It's all your fault. One thing after another. Company, family, relatives. Everything he had painstakingly built was collapsing within an hour on this day. Reduced to ashes. He walked out of the office building, holding a cardboard box, standing in the blinding sunlight. He couldn't feel a trace of warmth. He had lost. He knew he was completely defeated. Su Jing didn't argue with him, didn't make a scene. She simply moved her fingers and plunged him into an irredeemable hell. 18 I received a call from Zhou Wenbo 3 days later. It was an unfamiliar number, but I knew it was him. I answered. I'm downstairs at your new place. His voice was hoarse and tired, like he hadn't had water in a week. I know you got a new job and bought a new house. Su Jing, you're really something. There was no anger in his tone, only a deathly calm. Let's meet, he said. One last time. I thought for a moment and said, come on up. Qin Yu had warned me not to meet him alone, but I knew he no longer had the strength to do anything. He was now just a tiger that had its teeth pulled. I needed one final farewell, to put an end to all of this. A few minutes later, the doorbell rang. I opened the door. The Zhou Wenbo standing at the door was almost unrecognizable. He had lost a lot of weight. His eyes were sunken, and he had stubble on his face. The once sharp coat he wore now hung on him, wrinkled and ill-fitting, like an old costume. He walked into the house and stood awkwardly in the entryway, afraid to go further. He looked at my small, exquisite home with a complicated expression. There was envy, jealousy, but mostly a helpless despair. He knew that everything here had nothing to do with him anymore. Sit, I said, pointing to the sofa. He shook his head. No, thanks. And so, we stood, separated by a few meters, once the closest of people, now more estranged than strangers. I was fired from the company, he said first, as if stating something that had happened to someone else. My mom, she stays at home every day now, afraid to go out. Every time she does, the neighbors point and whisper. My sister was also fired from the kindergarten. Her husband is talking about divorcing her, disgusted that her family is bringing him shame. My dad had a sudden cerebral hemorrhage the night before last and is still in the hospital. As he spoke, his eyes were fixed on me, as if trying to find a trace of compassion, a hint of guilt on my face. But he was disappointed. My face was expressionless. Is that why you're here? I asked calmly. What do you want to say? That I've gone too far. He was silent. Su Jing. He finally raised his head, his eyes bloodshot. I admit, I was wrong. I shouldn't have cheated. I shouldn't have lied to you, and I definitely shouldn't have made a scene at your house. I apologize to you. Can we not get divorced? The money, the house. I don't want any of it. I don't want anything. I just want you back. Let's start over. Okay. He spoke so earnestly, his eyes reddening. If it had been a month ago, I might have softened. But now, I just found it laughable. Start over. I laughed out loud. Zhou Wenbo, do you think everyone is as forgetful as you are? Have you forgotten how you and your mother spent my money to support that college girl? Have you forgotten how you made me stay home alone for 3 consecutive years during the holidays? Have you forgotten how you pointed at my nose and scolded me for being insensitive? Have you forgotten how you took your whole family to my parents' door, holding banners and spreading rumors that I was having an affair? With each sentence I spoke, his face paled a little more. My parents treated you like their own son, and you repaid them by making them unable to hold their heads up in front of all the neighbors. I treated your family as my own, and you repaid me by treating me like a fool who could be deceived and sacrificed at will. Zhou Wenbo, you've brought this upon yourself. It's all your own doing. Don't you love your family? Don't you think a family should be together? Now, your family, unemployed, divorced, hospitalized. Isn't that quite a complete package? My words, like the sharpest knife, stripped away the last bit of his pretense and dignity. He staggered back a step, leaned against the wall, his face as white as paper. He opened his mouth but couldn't make a sound. The divorce agreement. My lawyer has already sent it to you. I picked up a document from the coffee table and threw it at his feet. Sign it. This is the last thing we need to do together. After you sign, we'll be even. From now on, your life and death, your wealth and poverty, will have nothing to do with me. Su Jing. He looked down at the divorce agreement at his feet. He looked at it for a long time. Finally, he bent down and picked it up with trembling hands. Okay. He squeezed the word out from between his teeth. Then, he turned around and, like a walking corpse, walked out of my house step by step. The door closed behind him. I stood there, unmoving. I knew that my story with Zhou Wenbo had come to a complete end. 19. The first thing I did after Zhou Wenbo left was call Qin Yu. He came. Are you okay? Did he do anything to you? Qin Yu's voice immediately became anxious. I'm fine. He's gone. I looked out the window, the city skyline softened by the dusk. He's out of strength. Qin Yu was silent for a moment, then sighed. Yeah, after that combination punch you landed, even a man of iron would be finished. Next. We just wait for him to sign. Don't worry. I'm keeping an eye on it. After hanging up, I drew myself a hot bath, adding essential oils and bath salts. I soaked in the warm water, closing my eyes. My mind was no longer filled with the faces of Zhou Wenba and his family, nor with the humiliation and anger of the past. I was thinking about how to decorate my new home. I wanted a cream-colored sofa in the living room, paired with a coffee table made of natural wood. I wanted to fill the balcony with gardenias and succulents. I wanted to paint the bedroom walls my favorite light blue. I even started browsing online for curtain styles. My life could finally revolve solely around myself. 2 days later, Qin Yu placed a document in front of me. It was the divorce agreement. On the last page, 3 words were signed. Zhou Wenba. The handwriting was, the strokes light, as if signing those few words had exhausted all his strength. He didn't ask for anything. Qin Yu said. He accepted leaving with nothing. He had no choice. I said, yeah. His lawyer said that when he came to sign. He looked like he'd lost his soul. He signed and left, without saying a word. I picked up the agreement. Looking at those 3 words, my heart is very calm. I thought I would feel a sense of satisfaction from finally getting revenge, but I didn't. It's like walking down the street and getting a piece of mud stuck to your shoe. You put in some effort and scraped it off. You wouldn't celebrate victory over that piece of mud on the ground. You would just feel that your feet are finally clean. Qin Yu and I went to the Civil Affairs Bureau and completed the final procedures. When I received that dark green divorce certificate from the staff member, I let out a long sigh of relief. The 3-year nightmare had finally, in a legal sense, come to an end. Outside the Civil Affairs Bureau, the sun was shining brightly. Congratulations, Miss Su Jing. Qin Yu smiled and opened her arms to me. Reborn. I smiled and hugged her. Congratulations to you too. Attorney Qin has won another beautiful case. That's a must. Treat me to dinner tonight. I want to eat the most expensive Japanese food. No problem. I looked at the divorce certificate in my hand, then put it in the deepest part of my bag. I probably won't ever take it out again. At the same time, in a cheap rented house in the north of the city, Zhou Wenba received a call from Wang Shulian. Wenba, your dad. The hospital is urging us to pay the medical bills again. Wang Xiulian's voice was old and weak. How much is still owed? There's still 30,000 yuan. Wenba, do you have any money left? Zhou Wenba looked at the balance on his phone, which was less than 3 digits, and fell silent. He was fired from the company and didn't receive any severance pay. The little money he had saved was used to pay his father's hospital deposit and given to Zhou Wenqi to deal with her husband. It was all gone. Mom, I'll think of something. He hung up the phone, staring blankly at the stained ceiling. Think of something. What else could he do? His life seemed to have reached a dead end. He suddenly thought of Su Jing. He remembered her standing in that bright new home, looking down at him condescendingly. What welled up in his heart was no longer hatred, but a kind of desperate regret that he himself couldn't understand. If he had taken her to Sonia 3 years ago, if he hadn't scolded her for being insensible last year, if he had insisted on her going to Australia with him this year, could everything be different today? But there are no ifs. His life is like the name he signed. Once written, there is no possibility of changing it. 20 time flies. In the blink of an eye. It was summer. My new home was renovated, and after 3 months of ventilation, I officially moved in. All the furniture and decorations were chosen by me personally. The gardenias on the balcony are blooming, and the whole house is filled with a sweet fragrance. I changed my job. A foreign company. The position is marketing manager, and the salary is much higher than before. The new colleagues are very friendly. and the working atmosphere is also very good. I completely said goodbye to my past social circle and those rumors. On weekends, I no longer need to revolve around the stove and housework. I would meet up with Qin Yu, or by myself, to go to art exhibitions, concerts, or sweat it out at the gym. I also signed up for a French class, twice a week, starting with the most basic bonjour. I lost weight, but my complexion is getting better and better. Men around me began to express their affection for me. There are business partners I know from work, and gym trainers. I politely declined them one by one. Am not ready yet, or rather, my life now is fulfilling and complete, and I don't need another person to add to it. In July, the company had the opportunity to go to Paris, France, to attend an industry summit. The director gave me this spot. Su Jing, your performance since joining the company has been obvious to all. You deserve it. I stood under the Eiffel Tower and took a photo, posted it on my WeChat Moments, without any accompanying text. Soon, Qin Yu liked it and commented, "So beautiful." I'm talking about the person. I looked at the girl in the photo, wearing a long dress, smiling brightly. I felt a little strange, yet incredibly familiar. It turns out that living only for yourself, and not for anyone else, is such a happy thing. And in another part of the city, the life of Zhou Wenba's family is a complete mess. After Zhou Jianjun had a stroke, he suffered from hemiplegia and needed care all year round. Wang Shulian couldn't handle it all by herself, and she completely lost her former spirit. She washed her face with tears all day long, and aged rapidly. Zhou Wenqi finally divorced, and the child was awarded to the man. She has no job, and moved out of the house, so she can only rent in the cheapest urban village and live on odd jobs. Zhou Wenba had been looking for a job for a long time, but failed for various reasons. His reputation in that circle was completely ruined. In the end, he could only work as a ride-hailing driver. One day, he received an order to go to the airport. The passengers were a young couple with a child, going to Australia for a vacation. He listened to them excitedly discussing the Sydney Opera House and the Gold Coast in the back seat. Every word was like a needle, pricking his heart. He couldn't help but glance at the young wife in the rearview mirror. She was gently wiping sweat for her husband. Her husband, in turn, looked at her with doting eyes. Zhou Wenba suddenly thought of Su Jing, remembering how she used to look at him so tenderly. But he, with his own hands, shattered that tenderness into pieces. The car arrived at the airport. The passengers got out of the car and politely said, "Thank you." Zhou Wenba sat in the driver's seat, watching the family of 3 happily enter the terminal. He lay on the steering wheel and finally burst into tears like a child. 21 After returning from France, my life returned to normal. Busy work, fulfilling weekends, everything was in order. One night, I received a call from my mother. Jing, Aunt Xiang told me today that the old Zhou house has been sold. Aunt Xiang is a neighbor who lives across from us in my hometown and has a good relationship with my mother. Oh, I was putting on a face mask, and my tone was calm. I heard it was to treat Zhou Jian's father's illness. They sold it for over 800,000, paid off a bunch of debts, and the remaining money is only enough to last in the hospital for a year or so. Their family seems to have moved to a more remote suburb to rent a house now. I heard that place doesn't even have a decent supermarket. There was no gloating in my mother's tone, only a faint sigh. I meant to show that I heard. Also, Zhou Wenba seems to have returned to our place a few days ago. He went to your Uncle Li's house, wanting to see if he could find a connection to arrange a job for him. He was scolded out by your Uncle Li. I heard that he's particularly down on his luck now, looking even older than his father. I listened quietly. There wasn't a ripple in my heart. Those people, Those things were like news from the last century to me. I listened as if I were listening to a distant story that had nothing to do with me. Whether the people in the story were sad or happy could no longer stir my emotions. Jing Jing, do you still hate them? My mother asked cautiously. I peeled off the face mask in front of the mirror. Looking at my radiant self in the mirror, I smiled. Mom, it's not about hate anymore. Right now, I just want to live my own life well. Whether they're doing well or not, it has nothing to do with me. Yes. Nothing to do with it. This is true letting go. Not selling the house. Not getting divorced. Not seeking revenge. But when their names appear in your life again, your heart is no longer stirred by even a ripple. They become the backdrop of your life. Blurred and unimportant. I hung up the phone, poured myself a glass of red wine, and walked onto the balcony. The summer night wind carried a hint of coolness. The city's neon lights flickered in the distance, like a brilliant galaxy. My phone buzzed. It was a WeChat message from Qingyu. Hey, beautiful. Are you free this weekend? A friend of mine is back from abroad and is throwing a party, full of handsome guys and beautiful girls, followed by a winking emoji. I smiled and replied, well, see. I didn't immediately agree. Nor did I immediately refuse. My heart is open. My future is full of endless possibilities. I can choose to go, or I can choose not to go. I can choose to meet new people, or I can choose to continue enjoying the tranquility of being alone. This feeling of having complete control over my life makes me feel incredibly at ease. I took a sip of red wine. I remembered 3 years ago, when I married Zhou Wenba. I thought marriage was my final destination. Later I realized, no one is your final destination. You yourself are. When you become strong, become complete, you no longer need to rely on anyone to prove your worth. The door to the past has been completely closed, and before me lies sunshine. And the whole world.